He's a quiet guy with a big head and big teeth, and you see him at the U of M every day.
In this week's Finding Minnesota, John Lauritsen takes us through the long history and evolution of the Goldy Gopher mascot.
Mom and Dad met at the U. My dad's old fraternity brother is Bob Dylan. It was 19...
It's pretty safe to say that Ross Bernstein bleeds maroon and gold. He also met his wife at the U of M in the late 80s, but that wasn't his only accomplishment.
This was the head you wore.
That was it. Yeah, it was just completely destroyed, but it's one of my most prized possessions.
It needs a facelift.
It needs a serious facelift.
After trying out but not making the Gopher hockey team, Coach Doug Woog encouraged Bernstein to be Goldy.
And I said, great, I'll take it. So I became a large, smelly rodent. I was like too fat for the costume, so I wore my hockey uniform.
It was before t-shirt guns, big scoreboards, and social media. And Bernstein had the time of his life, learning to entertain at hockey games without making a sound, part of a universal mascot code.
Everyone said, hey, spin your head. And that just became the thing. And now Goldies have always spun their heads.
But he also got into a little trouble, like when he threw cheese slices at Wisconsin players. The shenanigans inspired him to write his first of 50 best-selling books, Gopher Hockey by the Hockey Gopher. That's when he learned that Goldy was an oldie.
So it goes back to the 1850s when we started as a state. It was originally a 13-striped ground squirrel. Lots of Gophers in Minnesota. They became the university officially adopted them.
WCCO sports announcer Halsey Hall is credited with calling them the Golden Gophers in the 1930s due to the color of their football uniforms. The jolly Goldy Gopher fans see here on Saturdays in the fall is a far cry from the Goldy they saw nearly 100 years ago.
Like there you can see the ground squirrel. Like this one's from like 1900.
This one here, does that strike fear in opponents? Do you think it does?
In Bernstein's basement is an evolution of Goldy. The Gopher was skinny during the Rose Bowl days of the early 60s, and then he appeared to hit the weight room in the 80s. After legendary football coach Lou Holtz left, the Gopher face went from slightly sinister to more family-friendly. That's pretty much what you see today.
He kind of looks like a really big chipmunk is the best way I would describe it to someone. You'll see him around campus once in a while, which is kind of cool.
Nowadays, there are several Goldies, and they make more than 1,000 appearances a year. Win or lose, Bernstein believes it's one of the most iconic and historical mascots in the entire country.
If you could bring your kid and see the mascot and it says, hey, I want to go to another Gopher game, mission accomplished. That's what it's all about.
With photojournalist Nick Luneman, John Lauritsen, WCCO News.
A man named George Grooms is credited with creating the first Goldy image, but legend has it he did the tracing based on a chipmunk, not a gopher.